we move on to discuss Chelsea. We know it's been a difficult situation, a vulnerable situation for Chelsea Football Club over these past few years. Ever since this new ownership group came in, I've been very, very critical of this new ownership group and the team the ownership group and the transfer decisions and strategy and all that. And it seems like there's also been a falling out amongst the ownership as well, which is not something I'm gonna get into this segment. My issues with the Chelsea ownership and hierarchy has been well stated here, but strictly sticking with the footballing points and with the what we've seen so far this season. Chelsea, in my opinion, I still don't know whether we're heading into the right direction or not. I have to say, and obviously that's playing it a little safe. This is a team that's played 4 Premier League games. I'm not gonna take much into the 2 Conference League games. We've had 4 games so far this season, 2 wins, a draw, a loss. You analyzed it. You had that opening day. Either the one loss they had, that opening day, bad loss to City. Okay, we'll take that. The second game, we showed some good signs, especially in that second half, where we were able to dismantle Wolves in that second half. Got 4 goals in that second half and put 6 on the board as we got past Wolves, beating them 6-2. Then we had the disappointing draw to Crystal Palace. Good moment, it took a little bit of a magic moment from Eze to bring them back in it in the second half. First half, I thought we played really well. Second half, didn't play to the level. And again, it was like sort of a 50-50 performance. And then the Bournemouth game, again, Chelsea, they were sort of hanging on for a bit in that game. Bournemouth were the better team, but Bournemouth didn't capitalize on their opportunities. And Chelsea, with the depth that they had with the players, when you can bring on Nkunku, João Felix off the bench, against tiring players, against a tiring defense, and against a team that, just couldn't take advantage of the opportunities. Eventually, Chelsea were going to go back the other way and take advantage. Nkunku did exactly that, coming off the bench, taking advantage of tired legs. And look, I do have to say, what Chelsea, that Bournemouth game in years past, Chelsea 99% chance, or 99% of the time, they would have lost that game. They wouldn't have the resilience to hang on there, despite suffering the pressure going away, suffering the sustained level of pressure that Bournemouth was being applied to them. Being able to not only hold on and to keep the clean sheet, which Robert Sanchez had made some good saves as well, but on top of that, to go back the other way and to get the winning goal. In times past, Chelsea, there would have been a struggle, and we're getting 7 points in 4 games. It's not a horrible output. We're still getting results despite us not playing at a top level, which in years past, especially in early on the season, we'd play very dull, bad games, and we'd be losing games, and we'd be very, very inconsistent, and we'd lose a lot of games. So far, through 4 games, we've only lost 1, and yes, 2 win. Let's be for real, 2 wins, a draw, and a loss for Chelsea Football Club. 7 points in 4 games. It's not the expectation. When we look at Chelsea in the wider scope of things, but we have to be realistic. When you're looking at this, Chelsea team now, this is a team that is in transition, that's been in transition for a while now, that has been, and that transition has been exasperated because of, managers being fired. Then you finally bring in the manager, Pochettino, that you think is the long-term project, and then you let him go after a year. And then this sort of the cycle continues again now with Maresca coming in, and we know it's going to be a little bit of transition. I do think, entering preseason, I thought we were going to have some really bad issues, because in preseason we made a lot of mistakes playing out of the back, and we had a lot of defensive vulnerabilities. And we've had they've reared their ugly head in this season as well. In that Wolves game, there was few bad moments playing out of the back in this Bournemouth game as well. Some of the bad moments we saw in preseason reared this ugly head, but we were able to stay with it. We were able to not to bend but not break, and we stayed in those games and we stayed in those moments. And for me, I mean, look, I thought entering this preseason, entering this season, oh my goodness, we're gonna start off so badly if we play anywhere, if we make the mistakes that we made in preseason. But to get 7 points is not the worst thing in the world, and obviously we need to see more steady improvement from this team. I think Maresca does have this team setting up well. I think the team morale is also good in there. I think he's done a decent job with handling Enzo Fernandez. I think Chelsea also has a lot of players that are hungry to prove their worth, like a Pedro Neto making this move to the top club now. Cole Palmer to replicate the success that he made last season. Enzo Fernandez, Moise Caicedo, we know, they need to take the next level. And then Jadon Sancho as well. That's going to be a player that has a lot to prove. So there's hungry and desperation in this team, and there's a good overall setup now, strictly when it comes to football with what's going on. But going to this game that Chelsea faced, they do take on a West Ham team that are playing at home, that haven't started off the season as strongly as we expected. Obviously now being managed, West Ham are being managed by Julian Lopetegui. We're expecting this West Ham team to be, to battle around, that 8th, 9th, 10th place position with Julian Lopetegui, a very good manager in my opinion. But they've started off with a win, a draw, and 2 losses. Not as great as what we expected. Obviously, they had, opening up against Aston Villa, a team that finished top 4 in the previous season, wasn't the greatest fixture. Then you play Crystal Palace, take advantage of them. Then you have the loss to Manchester City, which is not the worst deal in the world. Then they draw with Fulham. But I do think this West Ham team has some footballers. I think they can play some good ball. I think, the combination of Susech, Kudus, Bowen, Mikel Antonio, they have some really good players in there. You have Somerville, Paqueta as well. They're also playing at home in the atmosphere, and at London Stadium. And I didn't mention as well, Danny Ings, he's still involved. He's a part of West Ham setup. They also have Fulkrug, who's suffered who has suffered an injury. We're looking. I was looking at an injury update. He is going to be a doubt for the clash against Chelsea. Because of the ligament injury that he sustained early on this season or in the international break. But the West Ham is a team with quality and a team that will give Chelsea trouble. For Chelsea, you just need to be they need to be defensively solid. You can't make mistakes playing out at the back. And you got to take advantage of the opportunities that they come. They need to play a little bit more to the tempo that they played with against the Wolves. Even if West Ham don't open up the way Wolves does, just move the ball quicker as well. Sometimes Chelsea, when teams are playing a little bit lower, how quickly they move the ball becomes way slower, and they allow how the other team plays to dictate the way they want to go about it, which I think Chelsea need to move the ball quicker, even if a team is playing lower, because I think that's your only way to break them down. Moving the ball quicker, getting it from one point to another, opening up the defense, getting trying to move the players off their blocks and open up spaces, and open up little pockets that players could take advantage of by moving players, by moving center halves, by moving fullbacks, by making it a little chaotic for the other team trying to defend these quick one-touch balls being played in. So I think if Chelsea can move the ball quicker. It will be a tough opposition. I do think, you know, a point for both teams will probably be the realistic outcome. Maybe Chelsea can nick it. I can see this going similar to way Bournemouth, how it went against Bournemouth. West Ham away is not a particularly easy fixture as well for Chelsea. It's a fixture that's given us trouble in the past. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to it, and yeah, we'll see. But overall, I do think Chelsea are heading into the right direction so far this season. I do have to say, I'll give them the credit for that.